Welcome to the Au Jus. I'm your host, Beef Loaf. This show is being sponsored by our friends Punky's Pizza and Pasta, located at 2600 South Wallace. My personal favorite eatery in the neighborhood. They have the best selection of pizzas and pastas, as well as sandwiches and salads of any spot in Bridgeport. Currently, they have a terrific Monday Nights Only special. 1 medium cheese pizza for $12.99. No promo codes, no minimums. Just place the order after 3 p.m. and get 1 medium cheese pizza for $12.99. Toppings can be added, but at the normal prices. Hit the website, punkie'spizza.com, for all your carryout or delivery needs, or to cater your next party. You can call 312-842-2100. The Scarlotta family will take care of you. Punky's Pizza and Pasta. The 108ers and our good friends from SoxMachine are also hosting a live show, our annual opening day eve show, Wednesday, March 26th at Ramova Theater Loft, 3520 South Halsted in Bridgeport. Doors open at 6 p.m. with panels starting promptly at 7:30 p.m. Tickets are on sale for $20 right now. Online, go to 108.ing/EVE. That's 108.ing/EVE to buy tickets. This show is also powered by you, loyal 108 supporter. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Feel free to tickle the undercarriage in the process. Like, comment, turn on notifications, and most definitely super chat, because that's how we get paid, and that's how we continue to make the content you know and love. Tonight's guest. Needs no introduction. He's the host of the 108 podcast, and from the South Side point of view, he's the star of the Sunday Soak, as well as being one of the sharpest minds in White Sox Twitter. And despite his dashing silver fox exterior, is actually my baby brother, Chorizy-E. Welcome back to the Au Jus, my friend.
What's up, man? I love that picture of me.
That's from we had the mustaches that day.
Yeah,
there's protection from that picture.
I do. I got a very like Henry Hill vibe going there, or Beastie Boys Sabotage. Like all my favorite things in that one. So
it's rolled up into one right there. So, well, it's good to have you back. First time back this season. I had you on a bunch at the end of last year doing our trade with every team, and I thought it was apropos to bring you back to struggle through the White Sox 26-man roster. And I thought it was going to be a lot more guesses, and then we got 50 breadcrumbs in the last 24 hours of what's happening in various places. And so I think putting it together will be easier, although there's still a ton of question marks in my mind as to who's going to end up on this roster, especially position player side, and also in the bullpen is like, I don't know, just pick guys out of a hat kind of.
I think we could quote Marty Huggins on this one and just say, it's a mess.
That's what it feels like. Yeah.
It's not looking good.
Not great.
I mean, I think too, and I was saying this to you right before we went on, I think that some of these things, they're going to be kind of like the least fun answer, because it's going to be like, well, the 40-man dictates that this is what you do, unless you want to cut somebody, unless you want to DFA somebody. So we'll get into that. We'll get into like who we think needs to be DFA'd, who needs to be on the 60-day IL. I think there's an interesting case to be made for one guy, and I want to talk through that with you too, Beef.
I love it. Well, the way I'd like to start is the starting pitching rotation, and I thought maybe the easiest way to do this was to just screen share. I have an Excel file kind of all lined up and ready for us to go. Beautiful. And so what we'll do as we get going is I'll just fill in the pieces. I'll fill in who we have in each spot. And I wanted to go starting rotation first, and it was going to be fun to try to guess who's going to be the number one starter. And then yesterday we get bombed with who the number one starter is, Chorizy.
Yeah, I mean, that it made this part easy. But I still think that there's one spot in flux. And like, so I think we could agree that Sean Burke is there. I'm going to guess that Martin Perez is the number 2 starter.
Number 2. Okay, let's put him here for a second, but I want to get your thoughts on the White Sox ascending Sean Burke to the number 1 spot. I was surprised. Were you surprised? And what do you think? What do you think about Getz and staff for pushing Sean Burke up to this spot and saying, look, hey, big dog, we're giving you the ball on opening day, even though you only pitched in September last year.
So I like the risk taking here. Right. We talked about it a little bit yesterday over a couple 2-300 Guinness. And
yes.
I said, like, this could either be like just such a genius move by them to like elevate somebody who can do it, who can be the kind of pitcher that they want to lead the rotation, or it could be like the worst decision ever. Like if he stinks and it's like, and that disheartens like a guy like Davis Martin, and like the dominoes all fall terribly. Like it could be, it could be disastrous. But I think for the most part, it's everybody on that staff thought they had a chance of being the number 1 starter.
Yeah.
And so I think they picked the guy that they felt had the highest upside. It's high risk, high reward type of guy.
Yeah, I agree 100% with that. And but it is curious too. Like he's kind of off the board a little bit. When people were discussing who the top 3 stars would be, it was Davis Martin, Martin Perez, and Johnny Cannon, because Johnny Cannon had a nice season last year, and no one was thinking about Sean Burke. And this reminds me of last year. No one was kind of thinking about Garrett Crochet. We were wondering, can he throw 3 innings? Can he throw 4 innings? And I said, they're like, fuck it, you're the opening starter. Let's go. And I like the approach of them saying, look, who performed the best? Who do we think has the highest upside? Fuck it, let's just give the guy the ball and see what happens here and take a little risk. And I like that approach. They're not playing it safe at all, in my opinion, Chorizy.
The Garrett Crochet thing, though, gave us faith in them that maybe we shouldn't have. And that's the only part that I'm like hesitant to be like, yeah, let's go. But I do like the idea of like, hey, we think this is the guy that can lead the staff, and we're just gonna do it. And it doesn't matter what happened before, what the stats say from previous years. We just really believe in this guy. I got no problem with that. Have some balls. Like, I think it's one thing that we've asked of the managers and the GM for years is have some balls. Do something that takes some balls to do. And this is that. This is that for sure. Which is about the 5th starter when we get there.
Yeah, well, absolutely. When we get there. Let's get this drink first. That's from Jason Wagner, who's aka Kevin Bell's regular batting glove. He says, cheers. Need some baseball talk to end my workday. Beautiful. Yeah,
cheers, my friend.
All right, so Chorizy, you have Martin Perez in the number 2 spot. I think it's arguable, but I think he makes sense in number 2 spot. If anything else, just to change up from the first guy. And so I think there is some utility to not having pitchers of similar ilk kind of back to back. And so as much as I think Davis Martin belongs up here in the top 2, I think we're good with this. So when you get to the number 3 starter, who are you putting in there?
I'm putting Davis Martin. So okay. I like. Jonathan Cannon had a good year last year. I think they saw a lot that they like out of him. Spring training's been rough. I don't know. I don't know what that you can put him into the 3 spot. I mean, like Davis Martin to me was vying. These were the 2 guys at 2 and 3 that I felt were vying for the number 1 spot. Yep. Martin Perez, because he's a veteran and because like this is the only time ever in his career he's going to have this opportunity. And then Davis Martin, just because I think Davis Martin has shown that he's a really good pitcher. Like he can pitch. And I think every time they talk about him, they're excited about how quickly he can make changes and how quickly he can adapt to different things. That's a valuable guy. And so I think that, he's the kind of guy, I think they want him to make more starts than the other guys that are going to be in the rotation. So I put him at 3.
Yeah, no, I love that. And so does that mean we pencil in Jonathan Cannon at number 4, or do you got someone else?
I think you put Cannon there because he's
having a horrible spring too, but
they've already said who the 4 pitchers are. They said who 4 other pitchers are, right? So I mean, like he's in there. And so I think that he's last year gave him this spot. That's why I think he's at the bottom of the list though, of the 4 that they've announced.
Got it. Yeah, no, that absolutely makes sense. And now we had a fair amount of discussion about the number 5 starter on the One League podcast very recently. If you're picking today, who's your guy as the White Sox 5th starter? Who's gonna open up as the 5th starter? We know that Drew Thorpe's not quite ready, so it can't be him. Just as we open up here, who do you like?
So I think I was convinced last week when we talked, that you were right that they were probably going to use Shane Smith in more of a high leverage role and get him. It's a multi-inning relief appearances. But now I'm not. Now I'm not convinced because of the Sean Burke move. The Sean Burke move changed my mind. That okay, they're going for the upside plays here, and the upside play with Shane Smith is him being a starter. And so for me, I've got him penciled in as the 5, and Bryce Wilson going into the pen. Okay. So I mean, like that's it. I would love to hear from you because I know you don't have that. So like I want to hear your thoughts on it.
Yeah, I think that I like the idea of they think Shane Smith's a starter, that someone who they think the upside of being a starter is there for them. What I don't like is a Rule 5 guy jerking around what you're going to be doing with them. And so if you start him out of the gate here, when Drew Thorpe's healthy, or maybe you would choose to tell Drew Thorpe, hey, piss off. You're going to AAA. You're going to throw AAA until we need you. But I highly doubt that. I would think that Drew Thorpe would have some priority since he started a bunch last year. He was very good, except for when the starts after he struggled. And so I would put Bryce Wilson here just to not upset the apple cart with Shane. I'd say, Shane, you're going to be doing this 2-3 inning starts. And later on in the season, we'll see how it's developing. We'll keep you fairly stretched out. And if spot opens up, I'll toss you in there. Now, I'm not opposed to them rolling with it if they're willing to commit to him if he's good. Like, if he's good, do not move him out of this role, no matter who the fuck does what anywhere else. If all these guys are humming, and usually something will wash out in these situations. So, like, you generally should just go for the highest upside, and like some shit will happen and it'll clear the way for whoever you want there. And especially with some of these younger guys, I guess Mason Adams has gone down. I don't know that I don't think he's going for surgery yet, but Kai Bush, I would say, it's surgery. So they lost some of the depth of the group there. And so maybe it is more worthwhile to go with Shane Smith, but I would be fine putting him in the bullpen, 2 to 3 inning role, and putting Bryce Wilson in this spot. It would like make a ton of sense to me, but he's definitely deserved it. So I'll put Bryce Wilson right now down here in the swing just momentarily.
It's Bryce with an S. Don't forget.
Oh, S. Yeah.
That weird ass spelling.
No, that's you know what it is. It's because he's chubby. That's why they got to put the S in there. So the fat guys get the S, the skinny guys get the C. That's how it works out in the way it goes. So, okay, so we have a starting rotation. The pitchers lined up here 1 through 5. I think at least minimum 1 through 4 is super defensible, and number 5 is like that guy's having a very good spring. Why not? Why not?
I think it's an educated guess, and I'm interested in how they play the Drew Thorpe thing, Beef.
Yeah,
because we know Baroa will be on the 60-day IL, which frees up a 40-man roster spot.
Yep,
and we'll get to who that will probably be filled in by. But there are other roster spots that they have to open up on the 40, and assuming they don't want to cut a lot of guys, how close is Drew Thorpe to being ready? Is he someone that they would say put him on the 60-day and then let him, do some rehab and starts and stuff down in the minors and stretch out that, and just be, okay, we're going to give these other guys a couple months to see what shakes out. And then you'll be back for that. It seems like it's too long of a time to have him on the IL, but it also, in terms of roster construction, it's a nice thing to have at your disposal.
Yeah, no, it's a good call and a good way to think about it, Chorizy. And maybe that will be the approach, because even though they did lose a couple arms who are on the periphery who would help out with the depth, when you look at AAA, the White Sox still got Nick Nastrini right there ready to start. They got Jared Schuster right there ready to start. I don't know if Owen White will survive with his 40-man roster spot, but he'd be ready to start. So they have a handful of starters on the 40-man roster that you can just push them up there. If anything happens, you can push them up. If you wanted to extend that time period for Drew Thorpe and get him kind of as healthy as possible. And who knows? Maybe part of it will be, hey, young Drew Thorpe, we're trying to add a mile or two on your fastball. So let's get you real healthy before we decide to put your ass back in there.
And the roster manipulation is always nice. It's a nice side effect.
Yeah. And I hope Guts is for that, because I feel like Han never did that. Han had a bunch of bullshit in the 40-man, and they never fucking took advantage of these. The Dodgers got like 60 guys in the 40-man roster. I want the Sox to start doing that. Guts, at least play dirty pool that way, even if you're not as, you don't have the brain trust that they do over there in LA. So
Dodgers don't announce a move. Dodgers don't announce the move happened through the media, and then 6 weeks later actually put the guy on the roster.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
47 guys on the roster.
All right, let's get to the position players. So I not only have the 9 position players, including DH, but I also have the batting order here. Now, the batting order is going to be we're just going to throw shit at the wall here, but I just wanted this to look like, okay, this is what the roster is going to be. So let's just take a look at how it is. So, Chorizy, we could go position groups, or what might be easier is just go, who do we know for sure's ass is on this group? Who do we know for sure is pretty much a starter in this group, and go from that direction?
So let's go with the guys that we know for sure, that we are almost certain of.
Almost certain, yes.
So I think in the 2 or 3 spot, you're gonna have Luis Robert. He's one of those spots.
I will put Luis Robert center field, and I'll put him in the number 2 spot. Yeah, it's gonna be those spots. We're not exactly sure, but obviously, as long as Luis isn't traded, Luis is gonna be hitting high up in this order and playing center field.
I think Vaughn is 3 or 4 in this lineup.
I agree 100%. Let's put Andrew Vaughn. Let's put him 3 because that's the best spot to ground into an inning-ending double play in the first inning. So that's usually what his strength is. Hit a hard ground ball that he cannot beat out, and someone else get thrown out. So we'll put him in the number 3 spot at first base.
I think a guy that is probably good for the 5 spot there.
Yep.
Is probably Miguel Vargas at third base.
Now we'll put him at third for now, even though some of these guys may move around. Like Vaughn may end up DHing and Vargas may end up playing some first.
Well, that's I think we have a DH. So let me.
I think we do too. Actually,
we'll get there in a minute. But let's go to the top of the order because I think the top of the order is going to be right field. That's going to be Mike Tauchman.
Okay, and I agree with you there.
He's got the best on base skills of all these guys. Because one thing I'm going to say is like I don't have this. We talked about this a little bit before too. Beef is like I don't have Mydroth in this list myself, and I also don't think that if he was in this list that they'd make him lead off. So Tauchman has the best on base skills around in this. So then somewhere towards the bottom of this lineup is Corey Lee.
Now, catcher is going to be somewhere in here. So
yeah, because we saw Teal
7th right now. Chorizy,
Teal and Caro went down today. They as part of the move. So like we were pretty sure that it's going to be Lee and Theis, right? Like so.
Yeah.
And
we
could put a bench spot for Theis. All right, now let's get into this DH because this is the first guy for me that has to take somebody off of the 40 man. Yeah. So I'm going to put DH batting 4th, Brandon Drury.
Okay. Yes. He's having a great spring.
He's having a great spring, and there's reason to believe that the home run power is real, right?
Yeah.
Like I know last year he did not have a good year, but he was battling a hamstring injury all last year. The 2 years before that is 28 and 26 home runs. Don't look at the on base percentage, but the 28
the power is there though.
The power is there, and in fact, if you look, one of the things that's interesting about him is if you look, he has like 109 career home runs, but if he were to have been a White Sox when you do the park adjustment in Fangraphs, that's 119, right? Like so, the power definitely plays in our stadium. So I think that he's definitely a guy. I think this is the end of Oscar Colas's time as a White Sox, possibly. It's at least going to get him DFA'd. So because they got to make the roster spot.
Yeah. Well, you're right. He may pass through that. So he might get DFA'd, but maybe he could stick around. Yeah, I mean, even just watching him a little bit in spring training, he does a lot of dumb things. And like I'm surprised he's been able to hang on this long, especially because he's from the last regime too, you know, where that's the Marco Patti guy and everything. So like I'm shocked he's still hanging around. But I think you're right, Chorizy. I think that's kind of the next guy on the chopping block if they need a spot right here. And Drury, you're right. The power has been there in the past. He had a shitty year last year. And what's the risk here? He could go pick up a glove at second. I'm not sure you'd love him to do that. He could pick up a glove at third. I'm not sure you'd love that either. He could cover at first if you need to. Really, you're really just looking for a guy who's 6'2", 230 to smash the ball out of the ballpark. And the White Sox are so lacking in that. Like, I was hoping someone was going to pop up from this spring training that would, we could put this guy in the lineup and they might hit some home runs. And so I'm 100% with you on Drury, and I would bat him exactly where you have him, 4th or 5th, just right in there.
The only place I'm putting him in the field is first base. Like, because now he's officially 4 inches taller than Andrew Vaughn. But he also, like, you don't want to mess with that hammy.
Right.
Like, if there's some, like, I keep that shit wrapped up. Hit home runs only so you could jog. Like, that's the situation we got there. And that's why you could even have a Brandon Drury, right? Like, where you're going to get, 20 to 30 home run power that nobody else wants, right? Like, it's this kind of guy. He's a DH that wouldn't DH on many other teams.
Yeah, DH who won't DH on a good team. Right. Basically, yeah. Now, I know they kind of wanted to have it be a rotating situation at DH, and they still can do that, Chorizy. They still can get Drury's glove in the field. I know you don't love it. I don't love it, but they can still like move him over or whatever the fuck, or sit him against a tough righty or whatever they need to do.
All right, so now it gets
Now
Now
it's
it
tough.
gets-
We
now
need
it
a
gets
shortstop, a
Now
second
it gets
baseman,
nasty.
and a left fielder, Chorizy. That's where we're at with this starting position players.
So the left fielder, man, I think it's gonna be Benintendi.
Yeah,
He's
I was
gonna
going
be
to say
back.
he's supposed to be playing on Wednesday, right?
Yeah, I think he might be back. And it makes sense too because they got nothing else. Like they sent Fletch down,
Yep,
right? They got Jankowski, but Jankowski's going to cost another 40-man roster spot.
correct. That's right.
You could say that Nick Maton's going to go out there, but he hasn't strapped on an outfield glove in a while, and he's also a guy that's going to take up a roster spot. So
yeah, absolutely. Now with Benintendi, let's say he does come back. Would you want him hitting higher than we have this currently set up? You want to move these guys back and put
No.
Benintendi third or fourth? Or you leave
I want
Benintendi back in?
Benintendi sixth. I want him sixth.
Okay.
Let him ease back into this.
Now, if Benintendi is not healthy enough, Chorizy, would you venture to say, okay, Travis Jankowski, come on up? Or is this going to be, okay, Michael Taylor, we know you were really bad in spring training, but we're keeping you because we need a center fielder on the roster, and you're going to go play left field for a while.
Yeah, or it's we don't care about the splits, and Austin Slater is out again. If Austin Slater's healthy,
If he's
right?
healthy,
Like Benintendi and Slater are in the same camp of like they might play again this week, and if they play again this week, I think they both make the team.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think
because contract dictates it.
Yeah, that was the intention. That was the initial intention. I see Maddie Mitch in the comments says they've been batting Tachman a lot in the 3-hole. Yeah, early in spring training he was leading off. He's been batting third, and they've been having Mydroff lead off. I just wonder if you said it earlier, Treasy. I don't know if they're going to press if they gave Mydroff the job. Let's say he makes the roster and he's going to start. I don't know if they'd press him to lead off straight out of the gate. Well, I think they might ease him in and push him further back in that lineup.
Let me play something from Will Venable that he said when he was on Foul Territory with AJ Pierzynski and about Chase Mydroth.
Sounds good.
Chase Mydroth is another guy we got in the Crochet trade. We'll see how it shakes up as far as opening day stuff, but he's somebody that we know is going to help at some point and is a really dynamic player.
Yeah, he's going to help at some point. We don't know how it's going to shake out for opening day.
Yeah,
that sounds like a guy not making the roster. So,
but like, I think Treasy, one thing that, and they're bringing up in the comments, they're getting a lot of looks at him because they are getting a lead out there saying, let's see as many plate appearances as we can. Well, how close are you, kid? Like, how soon are we going to have you here? And so that is nice. It forebodes, yes, you are in the plans, but maybe you won't be here March 27th for the lid lift.
I think he's not going to be here, but I think like there's not a good second baseman on this roster yet. Brandon Drury, fake second
one is DH already.
and then the other one, which we're going to get to right now, I think, is Lenine Sosa.
Yes,
and so Lenine Sosa goes in this order somewhere. We'll put him at the 8th spot.
We'll put him 8th, like in a normal. If against righties, if you're against lefties, I'd move him up quite a bit.
Yeah, like opening day, he'll hit higher. Opening,
yeah, he'll hit higher because he smashed the shit out of left-handed pitching. Treasy, I agree with you. When I was putting this together, because I was walking through this exercise just so it's prepared for a discussion, and when I was looking at this, I'm like, Lenine Sosa has made the team, right? I almost like him looking even halfway alive in spring training. And for me, the most important part was that he took some walks. Like he looked like, okay, he's not going to swing at every goddamn thing out there. I thought he had made the team. Now I thought he was going to make it in a bench role, but I don't think that's the case anymore. I think he's going to be playing basically every day. I mean, I think that's going to be what's going to happen.
Well, Josh Rojas' foot fell off today. So like, I mean, like that's the other thing that complicates this is like Rojas gets hurt now because there is, as much as I don't think it's a good idea, there is the idea of Rojas playing shortstop, for this team.
Yeah, I don't like it.
It's rough.
It's probably gone now, but the guy's got a hairline fracture in his big toe
because
he's trying to pay through pain, so they're not going to do that to him.
Well, how do you put him at second or short with that injury, right? Like, so I mean, like,
it makes it tough.
You kind of gotta IL him, and I think if you IL him, that's the best chance for a Mydroth to make the team.
Yeah.
So that could shake out, but we'll see.
So Teresa, you think they'll IL him? Now you don't really a hairline fracture. You're not doing surgery. You just rest, right? It's all just rest. So like, wait. I mean, it's just rest and pain management. So this guy's going to be, chewing on Advil or whatever all year, chewing on
Yeah.
Vicodins all year. Like, what a year he's going to have.
Or they're just going to say just rested until opening day and
Yeah.
see, and then
See how you look.
play him a little sparingly till he gets healthy.
Yeah.
But again, all roads lead to our number 9 hitter being Jake Amaya.
My guy.
I mean, he's inevitable at this point. Like, there's
You can't get rid of him.
what, like, who else is going to play shortstop? That's why I wrote that blog this weekend. I was like, their best next option at shortstop is Christian Arroyo. And he's not on the team.
He's not on the team currently.
He's on a different team right now.
The one thing about Jacob Amaya, and I see my guy Ian Eskridge in the comments. No, we know for a fact Jacob Amaya cannot hit at all. He is a horrible hitter, but I have extreme confidence that he's a league average defensive shortstop, and this team is dying for that at short. Because, all right, I saw a nice play by Colson Montgomery, but he ain't ready yet. He ain't ready to be here. Everyone else in this roster, not a single one of them can play a competent shortstop. There's nobody here. I'm sorry. And you're going to need another guy on the bench that's going to be able to at least pick up a glove at short, but you're not confident in. So, it's Amaya.
Yeah, I mean, I just like we were saying, how do you throw Mydroth into the fire and say you're going to be the leadoff hitter?
Yeah.
How do you do that to him at shortstop?
Right.
Where it's like nobody believes the arm plays at shortstop.
Right. Yep.
And so you're gonna go and just force him into that role. Like that doesn't make sense to me.
Tough for that kid. Yeah, you're not setting him up for success, Chorizy. You want these guys to have a nice easy ride coming in this thing, not like, oh shit, we fucked ourselves, and now you're the recipient of all this bad luck right here.
We want you.
Spot,
We want you to be an on-base machine. But by the way, you can't focus on hitting because you got to be a shortstop in the major leagues all of a sudden.
Exactly right.
Yeah, so that makes that difficult. But
I like
they don't
your
like
lineup
Brooks
here.
Baldwin. They don't like Brooks Baldwin at short, and that's the only other guy that I could see in this whole in the whole 40 man at least that can play shortstop.
Jason goes Vicodin for the toe. I was just trying to think of painkillers. He's got pain. I don't know. What's the difference? You can't take Vicodin for your toe. I mean, you take Vicodin when you get your tonsils pulled or whatever, or you get a wisdom tooth out. Why can't you take some Vicodin?
I mean, I'd say let's get him on Vicodin regardless. Let's
see how good he can feel. Get ready to get out there. Okay, I love this group. Chorizy, I'm pretty much in agreement with everything. I would hit Andrew Benintendi higher. Just to get the left-handed bat, mix things up. But I don't give a shit to move him right now because we're just trying to flush out who's going to be the 26 men. So let's jump over to the bench now. So we have Matt Thaiss as the backup catcher. I think it's pretty obvious because there's it could be Omar Narvaez, but that would really be doing some strange things because Thaiss has a guaranteed contract. You'd have to demote Corey. That's not going to happen. And these guys both had good spring trainings, Corey Lee and Matt Thaiss.
Yeah, and you basically you'd have to DFA Thaiss.
Yeah.
Right? Because you don't have the 40-man spot. Narvaez pushing someone off the 40-man even is insane to me right now. So I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, that seems a little rough. I would agree with that.
All right. Now here's the interesting thing, Beef. So let's go with first. Let's get some of the obvious pieces in here. So Michael A. Taylor, I think, is an obvious piece.
I think you're right. So Michael A. Taylor is definitely going to be on this bench. We'll just put him as outfielder because he's going to be used everywhere.
They don't have another center fielder, and the only guy that they pretended was a center fielder other than this has been Dom, and they're not putting him. They already put him down. So.
Yeah, they said, Dom, get yourself an apartment in Charlotte. That's going to be for a while. So let's just see how that goes. And you know what? Hey, I've seen a lot of hey, I wonder if Chris Getz have the balls to do this or do that. To me, when it comes to his guys, he has the balls to fucking demote the shit out of them, hire 3 different guys to replace Dom Fletcher after he traded for him, and the guy didn't do it. He's like, fuck it. Move on to the next guy. You're not kicked out yet, but I'm going to go hire some guys and cover the spot. Let's see who can be better than him. So I like Getz's mode, his approach with regards to this. If it's if we get to June, Chorizy, and Miguel Vargas stinks, he's going to be gone, right? I mean, you feel like he's going to be out of here. Yeah. So I think that's the approach of Getz.
I think there's a bunch of guys on this roster that are going to be churned if they stink. Lenine Sosa's on that. Lenine has He's eternally great in spring training and minor leagues, right? Like, and then he gets to the majors and he doesn't know what the fuck is going on.
Right.
So, you know, I didn't mean to quote one of my favorite songs, but the these are guys that you're just gonna jettison, right? Matt Dice is on that list, right? You better be really fucking good because Kyle Teal plays your position and is your handedness. So
he's good, and he was smashing long home runs in spring training. He's right behind you, kid.
So these last two spots, Beef, these last two spots are completely unexciting if these guys are healthy.
Okay.
And so let's assume both of these guys are healthy.
Got it.
You got Josh Rojas.
Yep. Okay.
As your infielder. And then you have Austin Slater as your right-handed outfield bat, right?
Yep.
Like, so he's the weak side platoon for either Benintendi or Tauchman. Right?
Yep.
Probably Benintendi. So that's what it lays out as if those guys are healthy.
If they're healthy. Yeah, I would agree 100% with you. Now, Chorizy, I had this thought, my friend. Let's say either of those guys don't end up healthy and have to end up with an IL stint. Right? Pick either one, and it doesn't matter. To me, it doesn't matter. Because my thought is that this guy is really at the periphery of this roster. And there's a reason why when you have shortstop open, they're playing this motherfucker in left field, they're playing this motherfucker in center field. And that's Brooks Baldwin. And I think they are okay. I think the White Sox seem okay to me looking at him, putting him on a roster like this without a dedicated starting role and saying, you're going to play 4 times a week because guess what? This is your life. This is what you're going to be, kid. You're going to fill in this spot. You're going to hit against this handed pitching that we're weak or whatever. And I really think that, like, if either of those guys don't make it, Brooks Baldwin's on this roster. That would be my thought, Chorizy. What do you think?
100%. That's the only reason I could think that they were playing him in the outfield, right? Like that they're like, okay, if you can be Lurie Garcia, like you have a spot. You have a spot.
And people joke about that. Lurie Garcia was a very good utility guy. When it got
very valuable,
I just try to play him every day. That's the problem. Like you can't play that guy every day.
It's very valuable to have a super utility guy. Very. So like I could see them.
Yeah.
I could see them going that route. And I think it's either one of these guys is not ready for the season. He gets that spot.
And it's not going to be like I was making the point before the season. You need some veterans on the bench who you're not afraid to sit there for 5 days and not play. He's going to play. I mean, they're going to find spots for him. And guess what? He could pick up a glove everywhere. Basically, he has his sprint speed is 80th percentile or whatever. So you can get in there and pinch run for you or whatever. He's got a lot of uses, right? Like this bench that you have right here. This bench doesn't have a lot of uses.
No,
it's not a useful bench at all.
That bench has a late inning pinch hitter with Austin Slater.
Yep.
It has a Luis Robert needs a day off and Michael A. Taylor.
Exactly.
And it has Lenine spiked himself. So now Josh get in there. Like that's the bench. That's the bench that we have right here. Absolutely. It's a non-exciting one. And so I do think like there's almost a little bit of a benefit of if Slater or Rojas isn't ready and we get to see what Brooks can do a little bit more.
Absolutely. Let's get to this drink. Husky Bardo says, cheers, fellas. Cheers, Husky.
Cheers.
And Maddie Mitch in the comments says, the ultimate churn will be Vaughn. That's funny. Chorizy and I had an off-the-record conversation with someone in the White Sox, and we brought up Vaughn. And the person told us, Andrew Vaughn is the exact type of person the White Sox should be signing if he's not working out somewhere else. So why should we just foist him onto the free agency? We should be working on him and improving him. And I was like, that's a good point. Yeah. So I hope Ryan Fuller's number one project is Andrew Vaughn. And
Vaughn has to be Fuller's number one project, right? Like
absolutely.
He has to just be telling him, don't even bother. Like, I want you to recognize that a slider's coming and just don't even try.
Just let it go.
If it rings you up half the time, we don't even care.
You got to get past this. No more ground ball double plays. All right. So now let's move back over to the bullpen.
Oh.
And actually, maybe I should just put Brooks Baldwin down here just since we talked about him, we gave him a little kudos. Kind of put him on the edge of the sheet there. All right. Now let's get to the bullpen, Chorizy. This is hard, in my opinion, because you have some mainstays that have been here. Some of them have been decent in spring training. Some of them have been horrible in spring training. You have guys you acquired. Again, some of them have been terrific in spring training, like my guy Penn Murphy. Some of them have been horrible. You have guys who the White Sox can't seem to rid themselves of that now are lurching into bullpen roles and like all kinds of weird shit here. So any angle you want to go in, we have 7 spots remaining. We're getting Bryce Wilson the swingman spot for now, as we have Shane Smith as the number 5 starter. So who do you got in here as bullpen guys? I'm happy to start knocking them off as we go.
So let's start with the closer, because I think that the Sox are really dedicated to finding a way to trade Mike Clevenger, and they just can't figure it out. And now they're coming up with the last ditch effort to do it. And so he's not on the 40.
He is not on the 40 man. Correct.
So Baroa goes on the 60 day to make room for Clevenger, and like I said, for Brandon Drury, that's probably end of Oscar Colas, unless they do the Drew Thorpe 60 day. But
very well good. I'm looking at the 40 man though, Chorizy. Like I'm looking at the age of some of these guys. Like if you look like Jake Eater's going to be 27 pretty early into the season. Jared Schuster's going to be 27 pretty early into the season. These guys ain't prospects no more in my book. They're like, you could probably slide one of them through if you need to, is my thought. Like, I don't think you're losing too much if you let's just try to run one of these guys through there if you need to add a guy. I had a thought about the Clevenger thing, Chorizy. We've gone over this a million times. I even did a video just saying, like, he's kind of a troublemaker and this and that, and this is why I would not sign this guy. And the upside's lacking here. But what we kind of reread the tea leaves is he's got a friend in that building, and that friend keeps getting him signed. And it doesn't matter if Han's the GM or Getz is the GM or whoever's the GM, they're getting him in the door and they're giving him an opportunity for a job. And so you're like, well, they're trying Operation Trade him in any capacity. And I think that's part of the calculus there, Chorizy. But I think also what it is they want to find a spot for him. And since they know they're painted into a corner, management, ownership wants this guy in here. They want to find a spot where he does not upset the apple cart for the rest of the guys. He doesn't bother anyone's role or trajectory in anything. And with this group, closer is the best spot to do that.
Yeah, because there's not one.
There's not one. And yes, I've heard all the shit about him out there when he's out trying to fraternize with the general public, okay? But let me just bring this into just the locker room, and Chorizy and I have heard this from like 6 different people. He's supposedly an excellent clubhouse guy. Not a problem with the other fellas. Will do whatever he's got to do to get along, help out the young guys, et cetera, et cetera. So the closer role seems like well made for him, assuming Chorizy he can keep his arm in one piece.
Well, that's the thing. I was talking about that. I talked about this with you. I talked about with Josh as well. We're like sitting around having beers, and I'm like, do you really want to put this guy into a max effort role? Like his arm is, and then I was like, oh, if his arm explodes, that's fine.
Who cares?
And I actually looked through the rest of free agents to see like whose arm would you be willing to just explode?
Yeah.
Because maybe they could get up to like 98 miles per hour and be a closer. And there's like no other guys. I mean, there's plenty of guys who would have arm injuries, but they all throw like 92 miles per hour.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
So
Like,
what's the point?
So this unfortunately, it just really feels like this is going to happen.
Yeah.
So like I think they're going to be rid of him in some way in the near term, because he's either his arm's going to explode, he's going to stink, or they're going to be able to trade him, because closers can always get traded.
Yeah, no, you're right. The bullpen pieces move. And if he hasn't really been in the bullpen for the majority of his career. I think early in his career he did have some appearances out of the bullpen, but it's been a long time since then. And he might actually be good at it. I guess we'll see. I mean, but this is happening. Like I think everything that you see out there, Chorizy, this is happening. He's going to be the closer. This
and that's the Baroa spot. That's the Baroa
spot.
And I keep harping on this 40-man thing because you're going to start to see in these next guys that who would you actually kick off the roster to bring up? right? And then why would you move a starting pitcher up here, right? Like so that's kind of the thing. Like Destrini, like maybe his end game is reliever,
probably,
but they haven't bought into that yet.
Not yet. No, they intend to start him for now. Yes, that's correct. Yep.
So
100%.
One guy that I'm going to put in here because I think I really like him. You like him, Beef, and we've talked to some people in the org that really like this guy, and that's Gus Varland. So I think Varland is in there somewhere.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's like the 7th inning, or like there maybe got him. That makes sense.
Yeah, I'm gonna give him the general bullpen role and not the setup guy yet. We can maneuver these around, but I think Gus Varland. If Gus Varland's being used in all this marketing and shit, he's probably making the team. If he's there at Sox Fest and is being featured prominently, I think he's probably making the team. So I think it's a pretty safe bet. Agree.
The other guy, I think we have both enjoyed this guy, and I don't know how long this is going to last. I don't know how long he's going to be good, but Penn Murphy got to be on this team.
My guy. Let me double check his. I think it's like this.
It's Fee. Yeah, you got it.
Okay,
you got it.
I was gonna say I'm getting nervous about his spelling of his name, but yeah. Penn Murphy's been throwing frisbees up there, Chorizy, and striking everyone out in spring training. It's absolutely fucking amazing. And look, they tried all the different angles and all the shit last year, and that Banny shit failed miserably. But Penn Murphy gives me hope that this, this type of method here. The old like Baltimore Orioles when they would try to have a guy who does a little bit different things. Back when they had Buck Showalter running it, and they fucking surprised and won like 90 games because that bullpen was terrific. That's what they're shooting for here. God bless them if they can get it done. Let me get you the strength before we get to the next one.
Oh, absolutely.
So our guy Singer Sox. He says, vote Singer Sox and 108 tourney. Oh, yeah, Senor. Cheers. I have no idea how you're doing right now. I know you were like 50-50 when I saw before the show started. So cheers, Senor. Thank you so much, my friend. All right. Let's keep going on this bullpen. Chorizy, who you got next in this group?
All right. So I got this guy because they made him the closer last year out of pure necessity. You make him be the closer on the worst team in the history of baseball. You're giving him a spot. All right. And that's Justin Anderson. Justin Anderson sticks around in this bullpen. I like where you put him. I don't think he's shown anything that makes him the setup guy.
I don't either, Trees. And you know what's funny about Justin Anderson is like, in a way, he was like, they didn't like totally Brian Shaw him, but he was the Brian Shaw when there was no more Brian Shaw because he's a little bit of a more of a rubber arm than the rest of these guys. Like he's kind of like available all the time, seemingly, doesn't really get tired and he'll let the appearances pile up. And you need a guy like that, a ability like this.
It's the best ability, availability.
It is availability. There's no question about it. So I'm in 100% agreement. He's having a rough spring training, last I checked. But yeah, I think he's probably locks to make it.
So I got a coin flip for you here.
Okay.
I want your opinion. And maybe both of these guys make it.
Okay.
Maybe both of these guys make it. But we got two lefties here.
Yeah.
Traded for a month apart from one another.
Yep.
And that's Tyler Gilbert and Cam Boozer.
Yep.
Which of those two dudes is making it? Or are both?
Well, my guy Fraser Ellard's still hanging around too. So
I know.
Fraser Ellard,
I got in the setup role for Fraser. Like I think he's probably the setup guy. So we can put Fraser in. I think he's definitely in. So
you think he's definitely in. You think Fraser Ellard? So you want to put him? We'll put Fraser Ellard.
Put him in the setup. Just because I think it fits there.
Yeah. All right. Let me look at the spring stats because I last time I checked, I was like. Looking for these guys, and I was like, I'm a little unsure who's who. All right, so you've got let's see, who are the two guys you got? You've got Tyler Gilbert, correct?
Yep.
And Cam Boozer, those are your guys?
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean Boozer's throwing nothing but zeros the entire spring training.
Right.
He's got 4 walks, but it's pretty good. And Tyler Gilbert, his ERA is higher, only 3 walks though. That's a tough one, man. I guess I would, and the nice thing currently with this White Sox bullpen, everyone has options. So you can these guys down if you need to,
that's something to think about, right? Because I think then you got to look at guys that don't have options that they've picked up.
Right.
Right. Like, so Jonathan Heasley.
Yep.
Out of options guy.
Yep.
Also not on the 40.
Yep.
And then who's the other one? There's one other one that's Dan Altavia.
Yeah, that's right.
So like those two guys you can't keep in the minors.
Yeah.
Like you're just gonna have to cut them. So the question is, do you send down a Gilbert or well, you're probably not Boozer. Like I'm leaning towards Boozer being on the roster, but like
Okay.
But like again, you made the point, Beef. How many lefties do you need on this? Right. And so let's say it's Cam Boozer.
Let's say it's Cam Boozer right now. Yeah.
Are you putting Heasley as the last guy just because it's just so you don't got to get rid of him?
No, you know who's my last guy in this bullpen? I'm perfectly honest with you, Chorizy. And he's the guy who was in the plans before, and he even closed a little bit last year. And then his second half of the year, he stunk, got hurt, and was gone. But
Leisure?
So far in spring training, yeah, I would bring Jordan Leisure back because in spring training, he finally gave up a run. So he had no ERA for much of spring training. Finally gave up, so now his ERA is he gave up a couple runs, so he's up to 4.50. But he has 9 strikeouts, no walks.
I'm good. I'm good with it. I'm good with Leisure there.
Yeah, I think I'd put Jordan Leisure in the spot.
It was just like Beef. When I was looking at this, I'm just like, there's so many lefties. Like
yeah, Brandon Iser too. I mean, he's good too. They traded for him, right? He's a guy. I think they brought him from Tampa, right? But again, they got options, so it's fine. You could send the guys down.
Exactly. So like that's the thing is like a lot of this turns into roster manipulation of like how do you put this together in a way that you maximize the amount of guys that you can use, right? Especially when they're fringy, right? Like the difference between a Tyler Gilbert and a Jordan Leisure and a Cam Boozer is probably negligible, right? But what's the best way to have all of them be on your team and not drop anyone off? So like there's a lot to that. And then again, how many lefties do you need? Because you don't need that many.
Yeah, exactly. But I take stock here, Chorizy. It took them 2 years to unwind the Han bullpen, where it was everyone got $9-10 million each or $8 million or the fucking everyone's immovable. You can't move guys around because no one's got options. They're all veterans, all the way to a modern bullpen now that everyone's basically movable. I mean, Clev and is the only guy in this group, I think. Maybe Bryce Wilson probably doesn't have options either, but the rest of the guys got options. So you can move them up and down. The only thing they're missing right now is modern bullpen has a bunch of guys in here that throw 99. And are just throwing fucking BBs. This group does not do that right now. So they have not bred the guys that throw a ton of heat and have ridiculous sliders. They got a bunch of goofballs that they're fucking around with. And that's a Banny build because they know they don't got the other guys yet. So it's okay, I respect it. But at least right now, like you're mentioning, you look at an 8-person bullpen, but it's really 15 people because they can go and dig around and find guys, and they got options with all these guys, move them around.
I mean, look, you're looking at what right now, this what we just listed out is also a 6-man rotation, right? Because Bryce Wilson could pitch 5 innings any day that you need him to.
Right.
So there's a lot of that. Yeah. I also think that they just they're going to go through these bullpen arms like crazy this year.
I totally agree.
And then they're going to get in my guy Joey Lucchesi, and he's going to throw that chirp for us, and I'll be very happy.
Well, I mean, it'll be good too because you can. Here's the thing about bullpens that they didn't do last year and they weren't able to do in years before because of how locked up they were. You can ride the winners and discard the losers. Whoever stinks, whoever's not getting it done in the first 12, 15 innings they throw, get him out of here. Next person. But if a guy's eating it up, fucking run with those guys. And you know how volatile a bullpen is. 1 year you might have it, and next year you don't got it anymore. The ability to move on from guys and not necessarily lose the depth is so enormous. And it took a while to get here, but they're finally fucking here. And so it's encouraging to see. All right. Totally. I think we've built a good 20. Well, I don't want to say good, but the best 26-man roster we can build, Chorizy, out of what we got. The parts here.
We did what we could. That's it.
I love it. All right. I'm going to stop the screen share. One more question before we get out of here for you, Chorizy. I've been asking all my guests on here. How many wins would make this White Sox season fun for you, my friend?
Yeah. So Beef, I don't know if you know this, but I watch your show. And so I've seen a lot of people talk about this. And I think a lot of people are, coming from the idea of like seeing some growth out of players and things like that. And I'll say, I'm going to have fun regardless of how many wins. I had fun last year. They won 41 games, right? Mostly, but yeah. I'm not talking fun hanging out with my boys, being in the stands, having a good time. Yeah. I'm talking about what would be baseball fun to me. and to answer this question. And Beef, that is 72 wins.
Oh, yes. I love it.
Here's why.
Okay.
To me, 72 is the chaos line, right? Because if you go like, oh, I want to get 65 wins or something, you're still in the throes of terribleness at 65, right? You get up to that, we only lost 90 games from 121. The most ridiculous conversations are going to start happening because you're going to go like, this team lost 90 games. Team lost 90 games, but Will Venable should be the manager of the year, right? That argument will happen. You'll also be saying, we're not that far from the playoffs. And then we're like,
true.
What are we doing here? We got to get some guys in the offseason. The pressure will be on to get guys in the offseason. Like, it's 72 to me is that line where it gets real crazy. And like, I love chaos. So I want the chaos.
Let's get this straight from Jay-Zell. Jay-Zell said 72 wins, question mark. Kind of sounds like bots. How dare you? How dare you? A one-away tourney season. Thank you, Jay-Zell. Appreciate you. Chorizy, thanks for building the White Sox 26-man roster with me. Remember, we ain't trying to be around in the show. We're just trying to understand. Anything you want to plug before you go?
Well, yeah. I mean, obviously, 108 tourney's going on.
Yes,
so that's important. Let me get this. Let me see if I get this link into the comments. I got a pool going. That's a huge link, but enjoy it, everybody.
Going in.
Here you go. This I got a
feed it in there, baby. Oh, it's
two things. Hold on. I'll fix this. Hold on. God damn it. So I'm running a survivor pool for the NCAA tournament. So if you've never done a survivor pool for the NCAA tournament, it's pretty wild because you got to pick every day. So it's not every round. You have to pick every day and bring a team in. Let me get this.
Yeah, go ahead. So okay, so it's like,
and so
the first round's Thursday. You got to pick a team,
and you can't reuse anybody, right? Like, so you can't just take the number one seeds on the first day because then you don't get to use them again. So you got to be really strategic about who you use because teams run out. So even when you read the rules of it, you could end up in a situation where you just don't have any teams left. So you got to hope everybody else loses, and so that you don't, that the whole survivor pool just ends. So it's interesting. It's a lot of fun, but it's, you're probably in 50 brackets, right? Fuck those brackets. Do something different. Have some fun with something different. $25 in. We'll have a lot of fun with it. I know there's already some people from White Sox Twitter in it. So like, if you want to like test yourself against their basketball knowledge, I have no basketball knowledge. So you get the $75. I have 3 entries. You get $75 from me right off the bat because I don't know what the hell I'm doing.
I love it. I got to get in on this. I don't have any Splash money left. This is on Splash, right? You're doing it on Splash?
This is on Splash. So this is where we want Survivor Pool.
This is where we want Survivor Pool, exactly. Where we want a bunch of money, but I got no money in my account there. I have like $5. So I have to reload and throw down and get in on this. Because you know what I would love to do? I would love to take money from other people in Sox Twitter. That's one of my favorite things to do. If I could take money from any of you gambling, you see me whooping up on Josh Nelson for steak dinners. Yeah, I love doing that shit to you people.
Hell yeah. So we'll see who comes through. We'll see who's in it. But it should be a lot of fun. So let's do that. Obviously, show up to the show on the 26th. Opening day eve is going to be wild. I'm putting together the programming for it right now. It's going to be fun.
Chorizy, I got notes, so I'm gonna have to share them with you. I got the prediction stuff and some over/under shit, so I'm gonna ship it over to you to incorporate into the thing. Also, I'm putting together gift bags. I think so. We're gonna give some stuff away. I'm gonna be giving away some gift bags only if you're wearing 108 gear. If you ain't got 108 gear on, you ain't getting shit. Okay, but if you got 108 gear on, you're gonna get some stuff. So let's get in there.
All right. Well, thanks as always, Beef. I really appreciate you bringing me on. It's a lot of fun.
All right, take care, Chorizy. Good talking to you. That was Chorizy-E. Next week's guest, I currently have no one lined up. I was thinking about getting some invites out there, but I had a little too much fun, a little too much Guinness at Jerry O'Sullivan's house yesterday, so I didn't get a chance to get out there and do all that stuff. So my apologies there. We'll get someone lined up for Monday. Thanks to Punky's Pizza and Pasta and all the 108 family who's up in the YouTube comments. Appreciate you smashing the like button, comments, and of course, drinks and tips. Those are the best. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in a couple hours We're gonna do the 108 Tourney post game show at 8:30. Bye bye, and I love all of you.